Welcome to Community Life Justice Files. I'm here as I was on Wednesday at a meeting when they had to evaluate the city manager. Let's introduce him at this time. What is your name, sir?
Redmond Jones.
Redmond Jones. Now, Redmond Jones, we're going to get right into it because I go off of facts, not hearsay or anything.
Yes,
so let's just jump straight into this.
Okay.
Apparently, there is a question on your qualifications. That's one. Number two, before we get started, I want the viewers to know whether or not are you guys going to implement a form, or is there a form that a regular person can call an emergency meeting to evaluate anyone on the city board? So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, to take on the form, I've heard that question. To my knowledge, there is no form requirement as of today to bring such a issue ahead. Is there a need maybe to have a form? Because I think one of the recent issues that came out of the meeting Wednesday is that what facts came to bear to even bring this meeting forward anyway, and I think many community members felt that there was no evidence presented that made them feel as if this was kind of a waste of time, of their time, taxpayers' time, and time of staff when they could be moving forward with the normal day-to-day operations. Now that's and I'm just reflecting the opinion that was expressed to me.
So here's where I'm at. I've been asked, should there be a form implemented? If somebody thought about implementing a form, how would they actually go about it? They have to bring it to the city hall meeting to make sure that there's something that they can have in their hand and read the facts or the statements if this thing were to push forward with any of the city hall meeting, with any of the city hall board. What would they need to do to implement it? Would they need to go to a city council member and say, hey, let's come up with a form? Because if you don't have facts, then you have theory and say-so and in your windows. So shouldn't there be a form?
Well, I can say you can always come to city council and make a suggestion. Okay. And if council believes that that suggestion deserves merit and more study, then they would direct the city manager and the staff to create and develop such a thing. So I think any citizen who has those questions can bring and take that approach and bring something like that forward.
Now, you being the city manager, and I'm going to throw this question out there. Would I need, or would a person need to go to the mayor to find out how to implement this? Or would he come up with a concept? I mean, what would he have to do? In other words, I'm looking for a direct 1, 2, 3, ABC on what he can propose to try to get that implemented. So it's facts.
Okay. You can always go through a council elected official. That's always the opportunity. But I honestly give you the 1, 2, 3 just now.
Okay.
Come to public comment, present the idea. You'll have the entire council there to listen to that idea. And at that point in time, if the majority of the council says that's a good idea, they take a consensus and they say, city manager, make this happen.
Okay.
Now, and that's how we typically go through things.
Now, the main thing on Wednesday, along with the other, I think 2 to 3 times, have been the evaluation of your incompetency. So, what I need you to help me understand is why, again, 3 times are we going through the same thing?
Well, first let me talk about
incompetent.
Yeah, let's just talk about my competence.
Yeah, that's what you just tell me now.
Right. So, I've attended the #1 graduate school in local management and urban policy for 20 plus years straight. The University of Kansas has been #1 as rated by World Reports for over 20 years. This program only accepts 12 students, roughly 12 to 14 students a year, and that's a national selection that they go through every year. I was one of 12 students, and they carry those students for a 2-year period. Part of that is much like a residency of a doctor in the medical field. Part of that is an internship where you work under a manager in cities all over the country. So the pedigree alone of going through that program and being successful, which I graduated with honors, which, by the way, out of those 12, I believe I was one of 2 that graduated with honors. My academic pedigree is without blemish. I have my undergraduate from Cleveland State University, which so happens to be on the same road, News World Reports, ranked as number 2.
Okay.
Okay, so I got number 1 and number 2 in this kind of work, education, and I've been in and around local government in particular. That's where I focus in on for over 17 years.
Okay.
Working in various areas of government, ranging from HR to budget to economic development. Working under many city managers and city administrators. So I come into this as my first city manager job, but not my first management job. I come into this with a large and probably more than normal background of experience in city government. And I'm talking about governments that range from Las Vegas, Fort Worth, Texas, to suburban communities, fast-growing like Lee Summit outside of Kansas City, and to stable communities like Davenport, Iowa, which is like the 3rd largest city in the state of Iowa, to here. So, frankly, the question of my competence is a bit insulting, to be honest.
I hate to insult you with that.
I know that,
but
I know that, and I'm not saying that to you. I'm just saying that I know that question's been put out there. And
but it's been there 3 cases.
3 times.
So my thing is, at some point,
and I forgot to talk about my experience after education. Well, my continuing education, I should say, with pedigree like Harvard University, Kennedy School of Government, and Weldon Cooper School of Government in University of Virginia. So it's not only that I just settled on my graduate school and my undergraduate school education, but I continue to test myself and learn the latest and greatest technologies and trends and management practices. So I just want to say I am very competent. The citizens of Groveland should know that they have a city manager.
And they have, judging from who spoke, if we were to do a number count on a percentage, you might have had 1 person actually say anything. And we will get to that later on. In the rest of the entire hour, or 45 minutes almost worth of people giving you your praise. So I'll give you that honor right there. Now, as you know, I look around and you've got awards all over the place. Could you tell me a little bit about each award and the names of them, please?
Sure. Well, I'll start off. We talked about my undergraduates, master's, and undergraduate from Cleveland State University. I also have been awarded Visionary Business of the Year because I started my own consulting firm and operated that for 5 years. And I was awarded the Visionary Business Award from the governor of the state of Iowa, primarily because of my ability to organize trade missions with the country of Botswana, Africa, as a representative of the governor's office. So I made several trips in utilizing that exposure to establish sister city relationships with the city of Davenport and the city of Francistown, Botswana. So I had the opportunity of bringing in a trade delegation and setting up meetings with the state of Iowa's governor. So the U.S. Ambassador to the U.S. from Botswana came down. We set that up. I also brought in that meeting meetings with several of our big farmers in our state and coordinated site visits and helped establish trade opportunities between direct businesses in Iowa and the country of Botswana. So that is one of the visionary, that's the visionary award on that one.
Well, let's do this. We want to get right down to it. Now,
you know
when it comes to accusations, you know how I feel. Hearsay and facts, that's all I base everything on. you had one guy that quoted that you hadn't really helped him out, even though he had several meetings with you. Why don't you tell my listeners and my viewers, why is it? Now, I'll give you the scenario. Apparently, it was something dealing with where he lived at. He spoke with you. I'll ask you one question. Was this in your jurisdiction? Is it in Groveland's jurisdiction?
Well, let me
and
be
explain
clear.
to me what happened so that we will all know.
Let me be clear. And some people use jurisdiction and city boundary as the same.
Okay.
And sometimes that can be the case. Other times that can be actual process that you have jurisdiction over. So you can have a situation where it's in a city, but the sheriff's department responds to something versus your police department, and maybe there's certain things that only the sheriff can do and the police department do. So the word jurisdiction can be confused. I just put that out there.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yes. So with this gentleman, he came to the city raising concern that he has civilly with his builder and his subdivision developer. And that is a civil matter. But even though many, particularly legals, department says, hey, you really can't do anything for this guy, probably don't want to really spend time sitting down and working with this guy because there's not really much we can do because we don't have jurisdiction.
Okay.
Then, you know, why sit down with him? But instead, I brought my staff together. We sat down with him. We listened to his issues. We dissect, analyzed, and found areas that we can assist in those issues. And we actually brought it back to City Council in a form of recommendations that got approved with resolution. And I actually have it here. It was actually done back in December 21st, 2015.
Okay.
And what that really shows were areas where we could help. So obviously when builders come in, they do take bonds out. There's performance bonds and then there's maintenance bonds. And what we can do in this development happens to be very large. So it has been done in phases. Some of those bonds have expired and they're gone. They've built, they've met the qualifications that things had got built the way they were supposed to, and it's being released.
Okay.
But there's other stages that are still being built. And one of the challenges and complaints that were brought up is that when heavy equipment get to those new stages, they're driving over and causing damage of previously constructed areas of the development. And what we were able to say, and even though those performance and maintenance bonds have been concluded satisfactory, we will scrutinize how much damage if any, has been created as they go to the new area where we still have active bonds. Okay. Now that is honestly pretty creative. Not something that cities typically do. But we did that because we were trying to help find a solution to a situation that, frankly, legal was right. We don't have any liabilities, any jurisdictions to really get involved in. It's a civil matter. But we are aggressive that way because we believe if there's something that we can do here as a city, that we should do it to help our citizens. So let me establish that. And if I feel passionate about it, it's because I try to communicate to my staff that we should spend this time, things like this, spend the time to make situations better if we can all help. And sometimes when our hard work doesn't go pan out, you know, then we get ridiculed. It's kind of hard to hear. But with this gentleman, he didn't get everything he wanted. He wanted the city to be able to have a magic bullet and fix all his problems, and we can't, and we couldn't. But we did everything we could, and the city council backed it up with adopting the recommendations through resolution that we could do. Okay. And so we did respond.
So you came up with a resolution. You came up with something on what you could do.
Yes, sir.
Now, the next question I've got to ask you is this. You handed me this piece of paper.
Yes, sir.
This has your resolution, correct?
Yes, it does.
Did he get a copy of it?
Or
is it public information?
Well, it is. Oh, it's absolutely public information. And here's another.
And if he wanted it, he could have came down here and got it.
Oh, he absolutely could have done that.
Right.
But I even hold us to a higher standard.
Okay.
So I think I go back to your original question, did he get a copy? I am not 100% sure, but I am 100% sure that representatives of his communities, community, definitely got one. As a matter of fact, representatives of his community helped us when we first had this in draft form, helped us fine-tune that to make sure that we were addressing those issues of the community. So sometimes it's a challenge that you get visits from several members of the community, and you assume that each other are talking to each other, and it could be that he didn't get communicated from representatives from his community that we thought were addressing the whole issue with other community members.
And here's what I will do. If they should come down to City Hall again, you can give them my number and I will interview them as a testimony. I like putting things to rest. If someone is going to claim something, if someone has a bigger, we do facts only. Now you're telling me they came down here. If you run into one, get me the information. I'll interview them as a testimony to that they did receive this, they did get on board, and that you had a meeting with, or the city council, I guess you say city council had a meeting to get this resolved situation.
Absolutely.
Now, we settled on this?
Yes, we settled on that. All
okay.
right.
Next question that we have here at the time is, I guess we would say that, how do you feel about this being your third time going down here? Now,
Yes,
I know a lot has been said, whether it's racism, whether it's politics, or whether, let's call it what it is, the good old boys club, okay? Now, I'm not going to ask you those questions because in detail I'm going to investigate each one. What I want to know is how has it affected you by going 3 times for the same round? It's like fighting a fight, the same round, 1, 2, 3. And this may not even be the last evaluation. But what do you feel? I mean, how are you feeling about this?
Well, Anthony, I'm going to tell you.
It's justice, sir.
Well, justice.
I'm going to respect you. You need to respect me.
Justice, yes, sir.
That's right.
I'm going to be honest. It affects me in a lot of different ways. I mean, I start off with the good stuff. It makes me proud that the community comes out and supports me.
And there was a lot of people supporting.
I mean, be honest, if you really think about it, 9:30 on a Wednesday morning, people took off work.
With a 2-day notice.
With a 2-day notice, people took off work. Now, I don't know about you, but, you know, my PTO hours, you know, my time off, personal time off hours that, you know, a lot of employees give their employees, they're pretty coveted. I mean, that's vacation time. And they took off some hours from their jobs to come down and support me. So that alone, you have to feel good about. And it's not the first time. It's the first time in the morning. We had our evening meeting last time, and evening meeting the time before that. So to be honest, I always felt that this city, we've accomplished a great deal. My accomplishments speak for themselves. I think when you come into this office, you probably saw on the wall with objectives and tasks, and you have check marks. And you might notice that almost everything's got a check mark.
And you know what we're going to do too? And I have to tell you, I investigate everything. Everything that you've done. We're going to look at every single project you do, if it's okay with you.
I welcome that.
As an open book,
yes,
and
sir.
Start going down what you're supposed to do and what you not have done.
Yes, sir.
And then if I can get that list, I will post it, and we will start looking into it. So that when you do, if something like this does happen to anybody, whether it's city council, the city lawyer, or whoever, it makes me no difference. We want to have proof and fact. So my reality check and my fact check of justice files has to be on a court. Yes. Now, has this affected your family? This is the third time you guys are, you going to fight for your job?
Yeah, you know, I have a daughter in high school. And, you know, high school students begin to get aware of their community around them. So, obviously, things like this, you know, generate questions and comments. Am I going to be able to graduate with my friends and my this and that? So we got to deal with that. And I have, you know, some little ones, so kids that, you know, they know that daddy's always at work. You know, sometimes I get in when they're already put to bed because it's past bedtime for them. And then in the morning they got to get to school, and sometimes I get a chance to drop my daughter off to school. and I get to see her then. But it's like these real small moments, and they want to know. And like when the weekends come, and I finally get a chance, because sometimes I have to work on the weekends. Finally get the chance to spend with my family, and it's like I've been on vacation. They're all over me, jumping all over me, because they never haven't seen me through the week. So yeah, that's difficult. And then having to be in question and wonder, well, gee, are we going to paint this room, or invest in putting in some wood flooring, or am I going to get some furniture? When I don't know, I might have to be packing it all up in a 2-day notice.
And the 2-day notice.
You know, and so things like that makes it difficult.
Now, I want to let you know,
yes, sir.
And I'm going to say this to everybody on the city council, it doesn't make a difference. Anybody that accuses anybody or make a remark, and that goes for the public, I still have to go and interview. I'll reiterate that again. I'm going to be looking into every single thing that goes on with this government down here, so that there are facts. If you make it a point, I'm going to call you on it.
Well, you're justice. That's
exactly
what justice does.
So that's what I'm after.
All right.
So listen, what I'd like to say is this. When is your next city hall meeting, so the members will know? And when is that date? Y'all have another date coming? Or is it next month?
It is next month. We meet every other week. June 6th, I believe, is our next meeting. And obviously, people should come out and be a part of the process.
Okay.
So you being able to be there as justice, I think we're going to make sure.
You make me blush.
I think we're going to make sure that what happens in those meetings, that it gets out to the public and they know what's going, how their government is working for them.
And that's what I'm about, letting them know the government, whether it's flaws or whether you're getting something done or not. We can only state the facts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm not going to say that we're perfect. I'm going to say that we're moving forward. So I welcome the opportunity to fix past issues. I welcome the opportunity to challenge ourselves to do something different and do something new. That's what we're about in Groveland. And that's why we're about a city with a future, because we're preparing ourselves for the future. We're not tangling ourselves up with the past. And I think there's some members who like the past, and the past been good to them. And frankly, I can't blame them in some cases.
Okay.
But this city's not that anymore. We're about the future, and I think some of them have a hard time letting go of the past.
Well, sometimes with growth, it demands change, and sometimes change isn't what everybody wants.
Absolutely.
But we as a whole still must accept them for who they are and know we need to work with them and keep on rolling.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'll say. Well, anyway, welcome for your time. Thank you for your time. And as things grow on, we look forward to have more comments with you. And we're going to further our investigation on every single accusation that was made throughout these meetings from here on out. We're going to look into everything. If it's there, I'm coming for it. And that's what's called good journalism, looking at both sides and not being objective to just one. Thanks for your time, sir. And if there's anything you need to say on last words, I'll give you a couple of seconds, and then we'll close this thing down. You got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Justice. I just wanted to let people know that here in the city of Groveland, we're about the future, we're about moving forward and growth. And we are doing it in a smart way. We're doing it in a way that protects your tax dollars. We're doing it in an ethical way, and we're doing it with a strong work ethic. So please come on down. Think about moving. Groveland's a great place to live.